Today, Moscow Meridian presents
IPPNW Congress held in Moscow.
Odessa, the city of poets.
Soviet-American trade cooperation.
Admiral Nahimov, the witness of a shipwreck.
Russian marriage, what it is like.
Zagorsk, the center of Russian Orthodox Church.
Yalta, perestroika in tourist business.
Bakhchisarai, ancient citadel of the Tatar Khans.
Entertainment on Moscow Meridian.
And other stories.
Hello, I'm Vladimir Pozner, and this is Moscow Meridian. In the spirit of glasnost, which is so much part of the Soviet Union today, I'd like to start out with some criticism that we received from the United States, from some of our audience. We have some letters here. The first one comes from Colonel and Mrs. Fred Fluckager, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. They live in Richmond, Virginia. They write, "We entered your contest, Moscow Meridian. We've never been advised of the results of that contest. Would you please provide updated information? We know we gave you factually correct answers, but we do not know how the judges ruled." Well, Colonel, I'm glad to say I'm not in your outfit. Seriously speaking, though, we have announced all the winners of every contest and the prizes. So if your name was not mentioned, it means simply that you did not give the correct answers, and I must admit that we don't give all the answers that are not correct, and I hope that you will share that that is indeed justified. The second letter we have comes from Margaretta Hyder of Austin, Texas, who complains about the fact that in their local TV guides they can never find Moscow Meridian, that it jumps around, that they have to try to catch it and can't find it, and Ms. Hyder wants to know why. And the answer is, I don't know, because it doesn't depend on us. We produce the program, but Tempo Television is the organization that actually shows it. So if you want to know why there is no definite time slot that you can follow, you should contact them. And a final letter, which is not a complaint, which is also nice. It comes from Stephen Combs, who makes his home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And he says that he finds our show very interesting. Thank you. And he'd like to have more about housing, construction techniques, heating of homes, the price of housing, how workers get a job in this country, how people are employed, and also he asks, do we show documentaries by American journalists? Well, first of all, thank you for that kind of question. It helps us structure our programming, and that's precisely the kind of letters we enjoy getting most. We will think about this in the future. And yes, we do show American shows on Soviet television, and we hope the day will come when Soviet television will be shown on American network television. At least we hope it won't be in the too distant future. Now, on with the show. Not long ago, in Moscow, the IPPNW, International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, had their 7th Congress. For your information, several years ago, in the city of Geneva, 2 doctors met, Dr. Bernard Lawn of the United States and Dr. Evgeny Chazov of the Soviet Union. And Dr. Lawn proposed the creation of an organization of doctors that would bring to the world the real danger of nuclear war. The fact that no medical organization anywhere in the world could cope with what would happen in case of a nuclear attack. Dr. Chazov was somewhat pessimistic about the ability to form such an organization. But Dr. Lawn persisted, and the IPPNW was born, and today it is one of the most impressive, powerful, effective organizations in the world in indeed bringing the reality of the threat to the knowledge of every single person, which is why the 2 co-founders of that organization, Dr. Chazov and Dr. Lawn, were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. I repeat, the 7th Congress was held here in Moscow, and here's the story.
During the last years, quite a number of anti-war organizations has appeared throughout the world. Among them, a prominent place belongs to the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. Today, the Physicians' movement unites more than 150,000 members in 60 countries. Speaking about the success of the movement, its American co-president, Boston cardiologist Bernard Lawn, laid down the following. From the very inception, he said, IPPNW embraced the new way of thinking urged by Einstein at the dawn of atomic age. A fundamental precept of the new way of thinking is that accumulation of arsenals of overkill foster national insecurity and not military might. In the nuclear age, security is indivisible. It is either common or non-existent. Second, IPPN promotes cooperation and not confrontation, a free-flowing dialogue between physicians of two contending power blocs. 7 years ago, there were only 6 of them. 3 Soviet and 3 American physicians met in Geneva. Let us name them: Bernard Laun and Evgeny Chazov, Leonid Ilyin and Eric Shivian, Mikhail Kuzin and Jim Muller. 5 years later, in recognition of their noble activity, the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War were awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. 2 co-presidents, Bernard Laun and Evgeny Chazov, received the prize in Oslo. Today, political leaders and heads of states from 5 continents send their greetings to the 7th IPPNW Congress held in Moscow. On behalf of the General Secretary, Mikhail Gorbachev, the greeting was delivered by the former USSR ambassador to the United States, Anatoly Dobrynin. On the 2nd day of the Congress, a message from President Reagan was announced by Ambassador Matlock. The Moscow Congress was attended not only by outstanding and world-famous physicians and scholars, but also by medical students who shared their views and goals of IPPNW. This group of young men and women came from Norway.
We have trying to work a little different than others do by theater and so on, and try to go out on the street and make people think themselves. We do a performance and they have to stop up and think.
After the Congress work in Moscow was over, the delegates went for the post-congressional tours around the USSR. One group of doctors, consisting mainly of American physicians, went to Yalta, a resort area on the Black Sea coast, more famous throughout the world as a place of the historic 1945 Yalta Conference. The IPPNW members sent an appeal to all the people of our planet to fight the nuclear madness at the same table where the Big Three met 42 years ago and laid down the foundation of the post-war world.
Creating health, well-being, and preservation.
The principles of peaceful coexistence declared then are much needed in today's nuclear world, international physicians say.
In addition to hard work and serious discussion, the delegates to the 7th IPPNW Congress in Moscow, of course, did have some entertainment and some recreation. One of the places they went, which is indeed a very popular one, not only for foreigners, but for Soviets in general, was the famous Moscow Circus. And what you'll see now is not just the Moscow Circus, but, if you wish, a little bit of nostalgia. You might remember the days when the circus came into town with a tent, and there was a strong man, and the lady with whiskers. We don't have one, but there was something like that. When the circus was a kind of a hometown family affair. And that was reproduced by the Moscow Circus, and I think very much enjoyed by the people who saw it. So, come with us to the circus. first segment of this program, you saw the members of the IPPNW, the physicians, visiting Yalta, which is in the Crimea, and a very famous resort city, and also a city with a great history of its own. But they also visited another city, which is even more famous, has a greater history, and is a very unique kind of place. It is called Odessa, Odessa on the Black Sea. It is the home of many things to this country, the home of some of the greatest poets and poetry written, the home of some of the greatest musicians, the home of some of the greatest jokes. Yes, it's a city of great humor. As a matter of fact, the people there have a special way of speaking and a special humor of their own. If it were to be compared to anything in America, it might be compared to Brooklyn, and it's a very rough comparison. It is also a city of industry, and you'll be able to see that. In short, the doctors visited Odessa, and if they could, why can't you? So just hop on, come visit it with us.
American movie fans do know the Ukrainian city of Odessa as a location where the famous battleship Potyomkin was filmed by Sergei Eisenstein. It is here that the shockingly dramatic footage of the mass execution of Odessa people was shot. The scene was not born in the genius mind of Eisenstein. This event really took place here in 1905. Odessa is a comparatively young city, but nevertheless it is a very impressive place. First of all, because of the people who live in it. It is impossible to take an Odessa citizens for anybody else. Those who live in Odessa have a unique sense of humor. Famous Odessa jokes are told with unforgettable Odessa accent, giving them very special flavor. Those who live in Odessa love their city dearly, always calling it the city of the poets. Let us remind you that Pushkin, Bunin, Shelyapin, and Babel lived and worked here. The newcomer may not feel this Odessa flavor immediately, but those who live in the city say that one cannot stay indifferent to it. The city is like a beautiful woman, they say. You either lose your mind loving it or you hate it. Being the city of the poets, Odessa is at the same time a very big industrial center. Innumerous ships drop their anchors at Odessa seaport, bringing thousands of tons of different cargo and taking away the local product to foreign harbors. A very convenient position of Odessa as a port was a decisive factor when plans for building a new ammonia processing plant were discussed several years ago. This plant was built jointly with one of the American corporations, Occidental Petroleum, headed by Armand Hammer. Good relations of Armand Hammer with the Soviet state for the last 70 years are known to every school kid in the Soviet Union. Hammer was one of the first Western industrialists who took business to the Soviet Russia. In the 20s and 30s, he supplied grain, tractors, and trucks to this country, built pencil factories and auto works, and in the present time put money into this gigantic complex, producing up to 1 million tons of ammonia per year. The port and the plant are two parts of one and the same complex, connected to each other by vessels of pipelines. A lot of equipment at this plant is American-made. This is another confirmation of the fact that both our countries can benefit from good business contacts.